Let's go live to the Environment Minister, Sussan Ley. Minister, thank you very much for your time this Sunday. How damaging is the release of Barnaby Joyce's text message about the Prime Minister?
Well, I'm happy to agree that it's been a tough week. I'm sure you'll put that proposition to me, Kieran. But the most important thing is behind the text bitching, headlines, excitement, and let's face it, we are going into an election year, so we're going to get a lot of this. The most important issue is the unity in the Morrison government. And as a minister who sat in 3 cabinets with 3 prime ministers, can I reassure you and your viewers that this is the most united cabinet table that I have sat at. And we are absolutely determined to recover from the pandemic in a way that supports every single Australian with their jobs, their lifestyles and their aspirations.
Are you concerned that these messages that have been leaked, whether it be the one put at the press club last week or the Barnaby Joyce message, other critiques, go to the Prime Minister's character here, Minister?
I don't have direct knowledge of a lot of what has been discussed. So I report and absolutely get behind what I do have direct knowledge on, which is the character of the Prime Minister, the content of the discussions that we have as a cabinet, which is absolutely focused, as I said, on recovering from the pandemic and giving every Australian the best opportunity they can possibly have, and not being distracted by these issues. And as I said, it is an election year. You will see this stuff bubbling around. But what matters, and what matters to our constituencies as local MPs, is that we get up every morning and we fight for them, and we think about them, and we're committed to them. And I genuinely know that my cabinet colleagues, indeed the whole government, is focused on that. And, you know, text messages, you wouldn't probably want to go through some of the phones of Anthony Albanese or other members of the government, but I just don't want to get into that tit for tat. I just want to demonstrate the commitment of our government to the future.
Barnaby Joyce says he's changed his view. He only sent that message less than a year ago. I guess this goes to the question of credibility here, Sussan Ley. You said this is the most united cabinet you've served in, but Barnaby Joyce has served in this cabinet, in the shadow cabinet, with the Prime Minister for more than a decade. Are people meant to believe he's changed his mind? He's had a road to Damascus conversion in the space of 11 months.
Well, it won't surprise you, Kieran, that I don't comment on my colleagues or what their thoughts at any particular time are. But he has apologised. The Prime Minister has unreservedly accepted that apology, and we move on. So I'm not going to add third-party speculation to that.
Given where the government's at, there's some speculation that people might be spooked and move against either Joyce or the Prime Minister. Is there any prospect of that?
None at all. Absolutely none. And as I said, I talk to colleagues all the time. I sit at the cabinet table with many, and I reflect often on how positive the unity is with us. Absolutely committed to the Australian people in the future that's best for them. And behind the silly headlines, and I accept that that happens from time to time, we're making good announcements, we're making strong commitments.
Sure,
Last
and
week
we'll
I was
get
with
to
the
a few
Prime
of those
Minister
in a
on the
moment.
Reef,
I do want to ask you about the Reef, but some of this is the Liberal Party's own making. If you look at the pre-selection situation, you're a senior minister in the cabinet. You haven't even got your pre-selection secured, and the election's 3 months out. That is a ridiculous situation, surely.
It will get sorted. Look, I'm disappointed at some of the factional games and the brinkmanship and the manoeuvring that's happened. But pre-selections and, you know, that activity, we're no strangers to that. No political party is. It's part of the process. So I'm confident that I will have the opportunity to put myself forward as the best possible representative for the people of Farrer. I'm committed to that because I know that a Liberal member for Farrer in a Liberal government is the best outcome for the Australian nation as we recover from COVID and as we put people back to work and as we manage the economy so much better than the other lot.
Given the government's dramas with the treatment of women, if a senior minister got rolled because of internal factional power plays, that would be a disaster, wouldn't it?
Well, this isn't about me per se. This is about pre-selections across the board, the party sorting these things out, and me as the local member being confident that I'm the best person to do that. You mentioned women, Kieran, and I think it's important to make the point that I haven't seen a Prime Minister do more for women's issues than this Prime Minister, and I'm proud that after the challenges we faced this year, what we have now in Parliament House, what we're approaching is really that gold standard workplace that we have aspired to as female members, and that I can actually genuinely invite other female candidates across the country to join us and demonstrate how far we've come. So the work that we've all done as female members of the Cabinet, there's 8 of us, more than in any other Cabinet, united and committed with a separate meeting of those female members to consider women's issues, really I think is so important, and again comes back to that pride that I have in being part of these achievements for women this year.
Was the $1 billion in additional funding for the Reef all about trying to avoid a downgrade of the Reef as in danger under the World Heritage listing? No, it wasn't, for the simple reason that you don't airbrush $1 billion out of nowhere. It actually comes through genuine, considered, consultative budget processes, as this did. It builds on what we've already committed, $2 billion that's already committed under the Reef 2050 plan, and everything in this $1 billion steps up that spending, improves it, increases it, but is also committed to that plan because that's the best management actions for the Reef itself, for the communities that rely on the Reef, for the tourism operators that the Prime Minister and I met with last week, many of whom said to him, if it wasn't for the funding that you've supported us with earlier, not directly related to this package, but continuing throughout this package, we wouldn't be here. So the whole package is not just for reef science and demonstrating that we have the best managed reef in the world, which I will stand up anywhere and say, but also links directly back to our communities. And this is the thing that Labor has never understood about the reef. But it is under threat, isn't it? It's under threat due to climate change,
yes.
Clearly. And you've said that in your response to UNESCO, every reef is. Why not just accept it and rather than try and spin it?
I do accept it. We do accept it. Climate change is the biggest threat to the reef. So the question is, what do? Do you sit on your hands and say there's nothing to do? In fact, there's much we can do, which is what we have done. 3 things, Kieran. You manage your emissions, and Angus Taylor is talking about low emissions technology and the part we're playing internationally with that. So of course we do that. The second thing is we manage the reef itself. We deal with the crown of thorns starfish, we deal with poor water quality, we deal with illegal fishing and build the best marine ecosystems. That's the second thing. The third thing is innovative science. We're funding that in this $1 billion so that we've seen coral spawning, IVF if you like, on the reef, new types of coral, heat resistant, that will actually rebuild those marine ecosystems where we want them. So that's what this package does. But every single ingredient of it links to the communities. There's 2,400 kilometres of coastline, over 400,000 square kilometres of catchment, and everyone in that will benefit from a package that ticks so many boxes when it comes to the practical environmentalism, which I see as the hallmark of the Morrison government. Doing things that make a difference
almost out of time,
on the ground with
but
people.
Just quickly, for those communities, it's also important to get tourists back for a lot of them, isn't it? Looks like the borders will be reopened within the month. Is that right?
I hope so. I'll leave other ministers to make those announcements, but the tourism industry people that I met with the Prime Minister and Warren Entsch last week are very keen for that. And more importantly, we've got an incredible natural wonderland to show them, whether it be the reef, some of our terrestrial national parks or any other part of Australia. So bring it on, I say. Look forward to it, always with the health advice and working with the states and territories, of course. But it's something that we're looking forward to.
Environment Minister Sussan Ley, thanks for your time. Talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.